Welcome back, Screamers, to another round of Suns and Shadows. I am Jeff, and I am joined as always by my wonderful co-host, Kevin. We are talking 1995's Legend, starring Richard Dean Anderson and John D. Lancie. Our wonderful MacGyver and Q are teaming up in this old-fashioned Western. Kevin, did you ever check this one out? This originally aired on UPN when it initially launched, so you may or may not actually know if you missed it or not.
No, but now that you say it was on UPN, that explains why.
Because it explains a lot.
Like, John Delancey is somebody that I will always watch whatever he's in.
Yes.
He's a gift to the screen.
Yeah, he's a tremendous actor. Like, I fell in love with him when he was Q. So, I mean, I know for a lot of his career, he's like, Q this, Q that, and he'd always roll his eyes, but then he'd always keep coming back. But he always had other roles that he did, like, B movies, A movies, and bit roles. And then he'd do, a show like this. And then he'd eventually later show up on Stargate SG-1 around the midpoint of Stargate SG-1. I want to say it was season 5. Yeah, I'm a little fuzzy on which specific season, but he did show up at a later time, and he got to share some scenes with Richard, and it was fun to watch them interact again. But I've been a fan for years, so I was pretty happy about that.
I bet you probably liked him before Star Trek, if you remember. Before Star Trek, he was a regular on Days of Our Lives, and he played this really kooky-ass character named Eugene. And I don't remember if it was his wife or his girlfriend was named Calliope, but they were just like hysterical on that show. I remember, like, they were just like really interesting and funny characters.
Was he a Tamara?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, okay.
If he was the black sheep by being a good character.
Oh.
I honestly don't remember. I would have to look that up again or see if they have those old episodes on Peacock.
Okay, well, this is our second Days of Our Lives reference in the last month because we had Starship Troopers with Patrick Muldoon.
Yeah, man, he was fantastic. I'll look for some clips later for you, but this really reminded me of some of that, and like I told you the other night, it reminded me of the moments where Q would role play, for lack of a better term, like different humans from different parts of the century.
Mon Capitan.
Yes. It's just delightful. It really is.
Oh, yeah. He's such a charming actor. Like, whatever role he's in, he's always bringing this wonderful vibe and energy to it. Like, even, say, like, Breaking Bad, people might forget that he was Jane's dad, who was the air traffic controller that brought the airplanes down in the middle of season 3 in that show. If you didn't recognize that, you do now.
That sounds like a fun afternoon. All right, everyone land now.
Well, the worst part is he played it so serious that I kept waiting. I don't know, just because I've seen him in so many things, I kept waiting for him to like do a little wink or make some sly remark. No, he just played a straight and narrow dad who was losing his mind over his daughter, who was back on like dating like criminal element and doing like meth and stuff.
Criminy. Yeah, that tends to give people gut rot. Dads, right. Specifically.
Certainly will.
But no, this was certainly not on my radar, even for UPN back in the day. Like, I knew Buffy was on UPN, SmackDown.
Eventually, those shows were on there. That was before it became merged with the WB channel.
Ah, yes. Was that when they still had the Wayans brothers then?
I think so, actually.
Okay, yeah. All right.
Yeah, this was 95, the very launch show. I don't even remember what other shows were launched with it. I know Star Trek Voyager was another launch show because I remember watching like both this and Voyager. I actually don't remember much else other than maybe a show called 7 Days, which is a great time traveling science fiction show. Ran 4 seasons, got canceled. But like Legend, this lasted only 12 episodes. They cited low ratings, and my first comment to that is, no shit, you're a brand new network. What were you expecting?
The shows that UPN was showing at that point were a little bit more hip hop, for lack of a better term. They were a different type of comedy.
That's
And
true.
this was a little bit more Fox Briscoe County Jr. type comedy. And I'm gonna guess that might have been a deciding factor. It was just a different kind of audience.
Yeah, to a point. They even had like a knockoff of Married with Children. I think it was called Happily Ever After. And they actually had like a puppet involved instead of like a dog. I
All
know.
right then.
It sounds fucking stupid, and it was horrible. That
That
didn't
was
even
called
last long either.
Alf.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that show didn't even last long either. And then eventually they merged like that with the CW and like SmackDown, and then Supernatural was on the same thing, then the Arrowverse, yada yada yada. But I was a fan during the early days of UPN. Hell, I even got another show on my shelf called Special Unit 2, which was a little bit later on. And that's a fun little supernatural cop show. But for like Legend, a lot of shows lasted literally like maybe 13 episodes. There's another one called Nowhere Man. Hey, anybody out there who remembers that? Well, I want to hear it because I would love to find a way to watch that show because it's really hard to find and the DVDs are fucking expensive. Just
That
saying.
sounds really familiar.
It has Bruce Greenwood in it. And it's got oh god. What's his name from Spin City? The big guy. God. And he was in Stargate too. Shit.
Oh, so not Michael J. Fox.
No. It was like one of his top tier guys, not Alan Rook, but like anyway, doesn't matter.
Finally, it's not me.
And we're in the middle of a podcast.
Well, let's talk a little bit about those. We'll get the cameos out of the way. Did you have a particular cameo that just made you go, no way?
Honestly, because this has been a long time since I've seen the show, I completely forgot about Robert Englund to name one, but there's actually quite a few cameos. What did you have one in particular?
The first one that made my jaw drop to the floor was Ashley Lawrence.
Oh, yeah.
Goodness, I'm still in love with her. It's been 30 years and I'm still in love.
I kept double taking when I was watching her. I'm like, really? What are you doing in this show?
Shouldn't Kirsty be fighting the forces of hell some whimper? All right. No, yeah, she was pretty great in it. And oh god, who else? Probably John Vernon.
Yep.
Made me just kind of roll my eyes going, oh no.
Then there was William Russ, who was the dad in Boy Meets World. He also would then play a role in Stargate SG-1 in early first season. Let's see. I wrote somebody else down.
Is it Wild? No, it wasn't Wild Bill.
He was Wild Bill. That was William Russ.
Yeah. Who was it? One of them was Corman's Reed Richards. I can't remember who it was. I will find
riveting podcast material, yo.
Yes, we do so much research, we just don't remember it.
Oh, yeah. See, we plan ahead. That way we don't do anything right now. Earl, explain it to me.
Oh, I had a favorite line, though, and I don't even remember what it was from or who said it. Is "You'll shoot him?" Oh, yes, repeatedly. I had to write that down going, okay.
Oh, there was one more cameo I wrote down. It was Tim Thomerson in the pilot episode, who was the brother from the Flash show that got killed, and also known as Doll Man and Jack Death in the Trancers movies.
Ew. Custer. It was Custer.
Oh, Custer, yeah.
Okay, so it's the same episode that has Ashley Lawrence in it.
Oh.
Yeah, I kept looking at him like, oh gosh, he looks really familiar. And like I've only ever seen that one picture of him where it's the group of the Fantastic Four, and his hair is very much done up like Reed Richards is in the comics. So it's like I had no idea who he actually was at first until I looked it up.
Right.
Otherwise, I kept waiting for Tom Cruise to show up in this, Tim Curry.
Tom Cruise was busy doing a cameo in Young Guns probably at that time. Well, you mentioned favorite line. Oh, did you forget about that?
No, I was just thinking of something very horrible and wrong.
Okay, moving on. You mentioned a favorite line. I'm going back to the Custer episode. I wrote down where Custer basically said, "You were a reporter, but now you're a dime novel writer." And it just in kind, Nicodemus / Ernest says, and now you kill Indians? I mean, the quipping was the snarky dialogue was fantastic in this show, and Richard Dean Anderson pulled it off like a charm. It's almost like he was getting primed and ready for Stargate, which wasn't even a thought at this point in time. It's just funny, like he would carry a lot of this kind of character over to Jack O'Neill later on.
See, I did not watch that at all. Like, I've seen maybe an hour of it total out of my life. So the Ernest Pratt character totally threw me for a loop at first. I was so thrown off, almost off-put by seeing Richard Dean Anderson being this wormy yet intellectual person. And by God, he turns out to do it so wonderfully. Like, he's amazing, like in a wormy way. But then he turns out to have this heart of gold and become half of Nicodemus Legend.
Right. He really starts to become the character. And even his mom points out, like, you write the character you want to be. Now, she doesn't exactly say it like this, but like other people are kind of jabbing at him throughout the show. Like, you write the character that you really want to be, and you have it in you to become at least part of that character. And by the end of the 12 episodes, he's like, literally the last 2 or 3 episodes, he's a little more like, all right, we're doing this. And is basically not even a second thought. It's like, yep, we're doing this. And next time you go first down the zip line.
Yeah. Once after the first or second time of using the wings, he was just kind of like, not a problem. It's not as bad as the last time where they didn't extend out.
Right.
But no, like even Bartok had said in the last moment of the final episode where he'd pointed out that the books have gotten better since he moved to Sheridan.
Yeah.
It's like, oh golly, that really was true. Because the adventures went from cheap, literally dime store novels to where like it wasn't realistic whatsoever. Only fools that believe what they read would buy into the crap that he was writing, until now he actually starts getting real life frontier type experiences, and the books start getting much better.
Well, it almost felt like it was mirroring the show itself, where the show started off pretty good, but after a few episodes, it started to get better and better and better. And by episode 12, the show was like firing on all cylinders. This is one of those rare shows where it's basically an incline going straight up the hill. Like, it's the last few episodes are way better than the pilot, but the pilot is still a lot of fun. The only problem I have is it goes from like the pilot into the second episode, and it's like, wait, why are you moving to Sheridan, Colorado? You were doing just fine. And at the end of the pilot episode, you looked like pretty ready to take on the frontier. And in the beginning of the second episode, you're wanting to be a drunk and you didn't really want to be there. It kind of felt, what is going on here? Maybe they shot the pilot and forgot how it ended. They did the second episode, but like beyond that, like I felt like the show just was like doing really good. I think Michael Piller being a focal point for this show behind the scenes and lead writer, I think that really helped. And he's mostly known for Star Trek. So you got a good infusion of good writing on this staff, and it showed.
Yes. There was a great, what's a good word for it? I want to say something colorful and pretty, but we'll just say it plain. You could tell that there was a huge amount of love from every crew member that worked on this series, like everything from the actors to the writers to the directors. Everyone that was involved must have enjoyed what they were doing, because like you said, it was an upward trend. It got better as it went along. Like the dialogue got better, the adventures got better, the jokes got better. The
mustaches didn't necessarily get better, though.
I hated his mustache, and I only say that because I can't grow a full mustache like that. Like, my uncle looks identical to Sam Elliott. I do not. Like, my facial hair sucks, which is why I just do the whole beard at this point.
I do the goatee, and on our 0 points, you see what we look like.
If I could look like Robert Downey Jr., I'd totally hit that Tony Stark beard. But I don't.
Oh, right.
So I'm at this point, I'm just going with the full Nicholas Fury.
Gotcha.
Yes, back to Legend. I don't have a 1985 segue in again. Sorry.
You're just talking about the incline of the show.
Yes, and to your point, as far as what changed from like the first episode to the rest of it, the rest of the series, Bartok was a lot less reclusive. Like, he didn't
Right.
care who was going up to the ranch or the laboratory. Everyone was aware that he was up there. He's the one making all the lightning. That's why Skeeter's hair's all fucked up. Skeeter kept getting better. Ramos kept getting better. Like, they were all
Right.
excellent side characters that really started becoming less side character and more part of the core group.
Yeah, they felt more recurring cast than like some random secondary characters that show up here and there. Like, I was very happy to see like Skeeter in the last few episodes starting to get more involved and doing more with everybody. And him and like Bartok and Legend had a great chemistry going. I'm sorry, Pratt. They all had a great chemistry going on, and including Ramos. And Ramos really killed it in the last episode, so that when he's going off to Mexico, I'm like, I hate to say it, that that's probably a decent way to end, even though it's like, man, I really got used to these characters. Everybody was so fucking likable. I cannot stop raving about how great the chemistry was and how everybody fit together like perfectly. This was such a well done, well casted show. And then everybody's getting their moments. They're getting more involved in their show. And it's like, I'm ready for the next 9 fucking episodes. God damn you, UPN.
Yeah, like you almost wanted to hear what happened when Ramos comes back from Mexico. Like, what adventures did you have? What characters are going to come from that?
Did he get married? Are they having a kid now?
Yeah, like we're going to hear from the Edison company in the next
Oh
season.
My God, the long running rivalry with Edison and Bartok. Just, I wrote that down in here. I'm like, you know, at some point they're going to have Edison show up and it's going to be glorious.
I will say this about that, and this is going to help back up a little bit of hate that I get from people.
Just a little bit.
When I say that Christopher Nolan's really not that great of a fucking director or storyteller.
You're fired.
This is the Prestige. Like, this is literally the fucking Prestige, all the way down to
Prestige.
fucking. The Prestige is a great movie. It's got fucking Wolverine in it, and fucking Batman and Alfred, and I wanted to say Gollum, but Andy Serkis. And Bowie, my favorite person in the world. It was very much the inspiration. It seemed like Bartok was very much Bowie's Tesla.
Yeah, he definitely felt like he was kind of a variation on a Tesla, to have that kind of little rivalry going. And I liked how he was actually a well-renowned scientist, like in its own universe of legend. Like, you know, when other scientists would show up, or paleontologists would show up that were supposed to be his friends, and now they're the great betrayers. I'm like, at least they're all talking about him like, yeah, we know you're super intelligent on the level of like Edison. And it really fit. It was great detail work and world building in my opinion. It's just super funny to watch like all these other scientists just kind of cower under his thumb. It would have been funny to have like a true evil version of Bartok out there, just so that he would have a dynamic to play off of, instead of just this, you know, I'm this scientist, I don't really get involved, I just, you know, I create things.
Yeah,
something a little more where he could get a little more involved into the show, and even give the guy a love interest or an old flame that would show up. It'd be kind of fun. If we had more episodes, we probably would have gotten some of that.
Yeah, you know, the type of thing that you'd see on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. with Fitz and Simmons, where they're the two smartest people, but who's gonna be the smartest out of the two of them?
Yeah,
that would have been something interesting and fun to see too, like you said.
Right.
The fighting with Edison, the other scientist, the paleontologist, that episode kind of made me giggle at first, because
I know
he knows who the bad guy is, but can't say anything because they'll end up getting killed.
Yep.
But where they find the cave that has the dinosaur skeleton erected
perfectly
already,
assembled. Yep.
Yeah, and I'm sitting there laughing my ass off because they're playing the Jurassic Park theme song like all 3 out of 5 notes.
I noticed like with some musical cues and themes, they were breaking it up to probably try and not get copyright struck by UPN. It was kind of funny at times, because even its own main theme felt like the theme of another show that they just kind of co-opted.
Yes, it was very much like they took Briscoe or something like that.
Well, in all honesty, this is a show that would have made a great companion show to Briscoe, even done a fucking crossover, in my opinion.
Yeah, that would have been fun.
If I had my way and I was on set, I would have been, hey, can we do a wanted poster back behind there with like Lord Boulder or even like Briscoe on there, just on the wall, just as a throwaway gag? And if people don't catch it, they don't catch it. But you wouldn't even have to list the name. You could just do wanted 20,000 and a hand-drawn picture of like Briscoe on there. I think that would have been fantastic.
That would have been cool. Or that the one link that they had to the show in there already, like you said, was it the Wild Bill? The life and death of Wild Bill. The guy that he's out to kill, that's out to kill him, was Pete.
Pistol Pete.
Yeah.
He touched Pete's piece.
Yeah, no one mentioned anything about touching Pete's piece in that, or Jack's piece, whatever it was. Like, that would have just been funny as hell. And then it would have been like, oh yeah, that is him. Because it very much looks very similar to how he did just 2-3 years prior to that.
The most it was is he wasn't wearing like all black. And he wasn't as like beautified up. He looked more like he was in a legit Western at this point. You know, he could have just called him, like, they call him Crazy P. We don't know who he is or what he's doing around here. You know, you could have had some fun with that. But I understand why they didn't. But I just thought it was fantastic to see Pete in there. I'm like, oh, that's so much fun. And I texted you and you're like, what? Which episode is he in? And I told you and you're like, no.
Yeah, I was like, oh, it was that guy. I know, because he did look like somebody. Yeah. I couldn't figure it. And again, Wild Bill could look like he could have been somebody, but anybody could have been under that mustache and hair and would have looked just the same.
That's about the only part of the show that I struggle with, is some of the mustaches are so obviously fake. It's like, oh my God. And I don't blame anybody for it. It's just a product of its time. Like Kevin said, we all can't grow beautiful beards and mustaches like Kurt Russell can, or Robert Downey Jr. can. I mean, if we could, we would. Just saying. But like, man, some of the mustaches and wigs were just kind of brutal.
Yeah, like there were some people that it might have been the Wild Bill thing where like he turns his head super fast and the head moves and then the hair goes.
Yeah.
Like when you spin your hand under a mop and the mop finally turns.
Well, yeah, it took me a while to get used to like Richard's like mustache at first. And I'm like, I wonder if that's fake or if they actually did a really good job putting that on. And by the end, it's like, nah, I think he grew that bad boy out.
Yeah, it looked very natural as far as his hair color and stuff.
Well, it fit his like facial lines too. It's like, that's way too good. Honestly, if they did that good of a job on a mustache for him, they could have done a better job for everybody else. That's why I thought like, nah, he grew that bad boy out. But at first, you're so used to MacGyver or even Stargate that when you're watching this, you're like, no, just
I just kind of wonder if there was a sale at the Merkin shop where they got those fucking mustaches.
Could be. Or they raided the set of A Christmas Story and all the guys that got shot during the infamous fight out scene at the house.
The fight out scene.
You get him, Ralphie.
Oh God, I'm gonna have to scream that at somebody next time I see somebody walking down the street with a big ass mustache. Get that merkin off your face. Oh, okay. So anyway, Cowboys. Oh shit.
Yeah, we lost Kevin. All right, Kevin, got a question for you. All the Indians in this show, did you think they were portrayed okay? Or do you think it doesn't age well? In my opinion, I think it did just fine with a lot of the Native Americans.
Well, I guess the person to run that by would have been my wife, but she doesn't watch cool stuff that we do, so I guess she wouldn't have watched it with us anyway. But no, other than the word Indians,
right?
Like, and I guess in 95, maybe they were still using that, but I think Native American was probably the better nomenclature at that point. Otherwise, yes, it fit. Like the one gentleman that was putting on fake powwows to make money and putting on shows 3 different times a day because it brought the tourists in. that was fairly realistic. And the tribe that caught them towards the end, what was it, the second to last episode, where they figure out who he is, or where he's got the German publisher with them.
The Arapaho?
Yeah. And the chief pulls him aside and says, listen, you write about the Cheyenne all the time. I mean, there's other tribes. Look at us.
Like,
We've
there's a
got
lot
stories
of us.
too.
Yep. Well, I also like this negotiating tactic when they're talking about like how much money to co-op the buffalo, the buffalo god, and the chief's like 150. I don't suppose you could get us guns, could you? And Richard Dean Anderson or Ernest just looks at him. He's like, chief. And he like tilts his head and gives him the look of like, really? You know I can't do that. And he's just like, yeah, I know. I was gonna regret not asking.
The cowboy that
It's so
doesn't
funny.
have a gun throughout the entire show.
Yeah, I just thought that was really well. What it reminded me of was the movie Maverick with like Mel Gibson and James Garner and Jodie Foster.
Yeah.
And where they had something similar with like Graham Greene in that, and it just spoke like a normal person, and they were just shooting this shit a few times. It's just like, no, I like this. It reminds me a lot of like, I know it's kind of a 90s thing, but this is about when we were all like growing up, 80s, 90s into the 2000s. And, you know, you could have things like this and people were pretty cool with it. And it was nice to have a throwback to watching a show like this and seeing things like that where, hey, everybody is treated with respect. And it was awesome to see like everybody was always looking to, you know, work with everybody, even if it meant like, hey, more money this, or hey, I'll scratch your back, you scratch mine. At least it felt like, hey, we're all in the wild, wild west together. Let's all just figure it out and not kill anybody. Well, some people would die, some would not.
Well, I mean, that's kind of the neat thing about this show is there are one or two episodes where they talk about racism.
Yeah.
And the pilot is one of them. The last episode is certainly one of them, because
I was going to say the last episode for sure.
The last episode, if you do not like racism, that might be one you want to fast forward a couple scenes. But it's mainly racist towards Hispanics, and you and I both grew up in California, so it's like you don't really understand why you wouldn't do that, because it's all of your friends at that point are also Hispanic or part Hispanic. So when you hear words like that little Mex is something or other, you're just kind of like, ooh, can I punch him for saying that? Can we kick him in the dick?
Oh, yeah. I grew up San Diego and I had plenty of Latino Mexican friends. And if you said something like that, you were about 5 seconds away from getting your ass kicked from me.
Yeah. Like it's that part was hard to watch, but every person that spoke like that was always one of the bad guys.
Very clearly.
This was minorities punching up. For example, it's the town for the most part is all Hungarian immigrants. The poor farmers are the Hungarian immigrants. Bartok is the scientist that they're all proud of until the Germans get there. And then that's another one of those episodes where, you know, they're sitting there talking about gypsies and you're like, oh.
And then they fucking shoot a buffalo because they don't know any better. I'm like, man, take away the brewskis from the Germans. They're drunk after one sip. Lightweights.
Yes, and then they're sitting there talking shit on the Romani, the fucking Hungarians, the Polish, and you're just like, oh God, make it stop. Like, you know, they're making fun of the Germans. God, that was still hard to watch.
Well, there was, I forgot what the line was, but it was at one point, even Bartok and the head German guy, forgot what his name was, but they even both made a comment. Bartok said something and the German responded, well, look, because Poland was going to be next. And I'm like, ooh, I don't know about that.
Yeah, like the son made some comment about, oh, give us time, we'll take that too.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about. And I'm just like, wow, okay. I mean, not everything will age well from like years ago, but like none of these are like so bad that you're gonna be screaming bloody murder or anything like that.
Yeah, no.
Just gotta got to know what you're getting into. But this show is far from preachy, and it's far from being like any sort of crazy thing you would see these days. It's still a relatively fun time. There's no blood. It was very tame overall. Like, you and your family can watch this show and be like, hey, this is like one of the shows when I was, in my teens or child era, and this is a fun show, and if you can handle this, then maybe we'll put on the Wild Wild West from the 60s.
Yeah.
And then we'll go into Briscoe.
Yes, which another one of the great things about this show is they paid an homage to the Wild Wild West.
Several times.
Yeah, that was fantastic.
Loved it. I love Wild Wild West. Absolutely love that show.
It's one of my favorites from growing up. And we talked about that recently, is why we hated the fucking movie so much.
I'll bitch slap that.
This show, just that one episode that had G.W. Bailey playing President Grant, like,
yep,
that was more like an episode of the Wild Wild West than the Wild Wild West movie was.
Straight up. That was basically hey, this is how you fucking do it.
Yeah, from like the Secret Service train, President Grant himself, Grant's wife being the one that makes all the decisions. And then telling that was like a ripoff of X-Men at the same time. It was very much Magneto and Charles Xavier having to get along because Moira McTaggart tells them to.
Right.
Like, you boys used to be friends.
Pretty much. And then you had Ernest and Bartok basically playing, Jim and Artemis.
Yeah.
Artie.
Sorry.
So yeah, between Jim and Artie, it felt like a combination of the two. Although Bartok is clearly way more, I'm going to use a James Bond reference, and it's going to sound like a Star Trek reference, and it is all at the same time. He was basically Q from James Bond in this show. So he has now officially played Q in a Western.
Yeah, but god damn, it was fun to see. Like, we've talked about the Freak of the Week shows. This was the Invention of the Week show. Like, what else did Professor Bartok invent that later became a thing? The bulletproof vests.
That was awesome, dude. I thought that was fantastic.
The rail gun, which was actually the magnet to pull guns closer to them as opposed to fire them away.
He invented the very first drone in this show.
The drone.
Hot air balloon drone.
That was funny. The night vision that went along with it.
Yep, I was gonna say night vision. The car, apparently.
And then Ernest peeping on the guy's wife in night vision. Oh, it's definitely a woman. Definitely.
Well, and to that point, I don't know if it's really a throwback or not, but in the pilot episode of Stargate SG-1 and in random episodes here and there, Jack O'Neill has a telescope on his roof and he's looking through it and he can see the neighbors through the neighbor's window. And now that I watch this show again, I'm like, I wonder if that was a little throwback to legend. I don't know, but it's fun. But there was plenty of Minnesota references, so there was clearly that. He did a lot of Minnesota references in MacGyver.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, is he an MST fan too?
I don't know. I'm the wrong guy to ask that question to. Come on, Mike. We know
you
you're
would
listening.
think I would know, like, pretty much everyone who's a Misty, but
yeah.
We don't all know each other, people. It's just a stereotype.
Right.
Not all nerds know one another. What was your invention that you liked? Mine was the zapper that went for guns. So it was basically you were safe if you did not have a firearm.
Oh, the taser. I call that thing the taser.
The taser.
Every time I saw it, I just wanted to scream, "Don't tase me, bro! Don't tase me!"
It looked like a Batman gadget, which you can't say gadget on this show because that sends Bartok into a tizzy.
It's a gadget.
Gadget. A gizmo.
Well, that was always part of the fun. I want to say probably my favorite had to be, I liked his little tracking devices, like the handcuffs with the tracking beacon on it. I really liked that. I did like the bulletproof vest. The other thing I liked was his infamous unlocking mechanism for door locks. And he came to the conclusion later on, America's security is a little lacking. This is getting a little too easy. And then Ernest is basically saying, well, you're just going to go in and invent something just to take care of that and make it more difficult. And all of a sudden the light went on in Bartok's eyes, and he's like, "Yeah, I probably will."
I probably will.
I think his answer was most likely, if I remember correctly. But
I like where Pratt's holding the vest up over his chest, and as he's saying, "When do we start?" Ramos shoots him in the chest.
that was great. I wasn't expecting that, honestly. You know, I've seen this show a couple of times, but it's been so long that there's plenty I did not remember.
I don't remember what exactly the invention was for, but he'd had chemicals mixed in his pocket, or they got mixed together in the pocket with moisture, and he started to smoke while he was in the pop-up tent church.
Oh yeah.
And so as they're talking about sin and brimstone and fire, he's starting to get sulfur out of his jacket.
And he's trying to leave, and Ernest is like, no, sit there, just stay there. And then he just storms out, and that was the perfect opportunity for Robert Englund's character Mordecai to be like, he may not be in association with the devil, but he is filled with sin.
Yeah, look at him, he's smoking. But I did love like how plain Mordecai was with Pratt, saying, "Oh, okay, this is your town. How much do I owe you to get a cut in on it?" And you're like, "Ooh, he is a piece of shit, isn't he?" Like,
Yep.
And I'll talk again about that more, but that was where you really see Ernest like legitimately say, "Oh, it's not a matter of money. This is my home, and these are my people, and you can leave now."
Yeah, I don't want you doing whatever you're planning to my town. Get out.
Yeah. And it's like the people, they all look up to him, but you see very several times whatever is best for the town economy is what's going to happen to him. So like him being executed would bring more tourists to the town.
That was probably the one episode I didn't really dig initially. It ultimately ended up becoming a really good episode, but I was like, oh God, this is going to be a long court episode. This is going to be so stupid. And at least it only lasted like 10 minutes. But at first I'm like, yo, you all know him. He didn't freaking kill nobody. And the evidence is purely subjective, but you still have to chase him down and treat him like a criminal. That's the formula of this episode. Welcome to prototypical episodes of the era. Gotta hit the check boxes. Gotta have one where you get accused of murder, everybody believes you murdered, and then in the end it's like, no, we should have believed you the entire time.
We're sorry we lost our faith in you.
But that ended up being a really good episode. But at the beginning it's like, oh God, come on, please don't be that episode. And it ended up not being, but you know, that was a fun one. I did enjoy that one.
The only thing that was hard about that episode was really the sheriff. Like he was Occam's razor throughout the entire show. Like if he had to work to investigate anything, he was irritated about it.
Yeah.
Not like the sheriff at the last episode that's just a racist piece of shit. This guy was just lazy.
Yeah, I mean, there were times we put up with this guy being a complete doof, and other times where it's like, yeah, finally he does something important around here. Even the mayor, who was like the Undertaker at times, felt interesting for the most part here and there, and he never really did anything too completely stupid. So
no, like I said, even when he was saying, "Oh, sorry, if you get executed here, you know, we could rent your room out for this, and this."
Yeah.
It was funny. Like it was horrible, but it was funny at the same time. Because golly, I mean, you're in Arizona now. You drive through Tombstone, and it's a tourist town.
Well, this was shot in New Mexico.
Oh, this was as well?
Yeah.
That's cool. That's another one of those things. Is this one of those ranches that's down in Southern California where they film Westerns or no? So yeah, no, this didn't feel like it was down in Riverside or Paris or anything.
Let me double check. It was either Arizona or no, I think it was actually Arizona here.
No, it says it's Burbank.
No, that's not correct.
I know. I just like talking shit.
Yes, you do. I don't know. I got a question for you. Do you think we'd ever see E.C. Allen, who was like the looming boss? Or do you think that would have been like a Charlie's Angels things and we never would have met the boss?
Oh, golly. I'd like to think that we would have met him. The once upon a time lawyer that was the go-between. He got funnier as they went along, but at some point you'd figure, yeah, the boss does eventually show. Maybe it would be something like you see on Inspector Gadget where you see Claw's just his arm. something to that effect. I don't know. But I think he would have needed to have shown up at some point if there would have been a season 2.
This was shot at Mescal and Tucson, Arizona. So it was definitely Arizona. And they shot during basically the cool months too, between January and June of 95.
January and June, where it's only 112.
No, that's about right. As long as they wrapped up by mid-June, they would be okay. Although we've been around 120 for like the last 4 weeks, so it's like
screw that. It's been in the mid 90s here, and it's like
that's enough.
Yeah. Like the studio's not air conditioned at all.
Yeah.
Let's call it for what it is. This is my garage, and one of the walls is the garage door, and it's made of metal. It's the oven.
It keeps the heat out.
Keeps the heat out.
I'm kidding, I know.
Oh, before I forget, we go to cameos. The woman that plays his mom, I didn't get to look up her entire filmography. Was she one of the relatives? Was she the mom on The Ref?
I don't think so.
She looked very familiar. Something I'd seen from before. I didn't know if it was the mom from The Ref, one of the relatives from Christmas Vacation. I don't know, but she was cool. I really liked his mom.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I liked her too. She actually, they could have played that role way differently, and they ended up doing just fine with that. Well, overall, that episode was really nice because it was a nice change in location.
Yeah.
And it didn't feel like we were on the same sets all the time. And I think that would have benefited the show a little bit more if it didn't feel like it was perpetually stuck in the same town. But I think they did fine. But it was really visually, it was like, hey, this is a nice episode to watch.
Yeah. I mean, what was it? Something Wrong in San Francisco?
I think so.
The confusion in San Francisco. It was fun and it made sense because, I mean, I don't know how diverse culturally that San Francisco was at that point in time, but there was such a diverse pot of people in that house at any given point in time from different countries, cultures, what have you. And the mom was like super into what everybody had to say about their culture. And it was really neat to see her that way. She was like the hippie grandma on Critters too.
Yeah.
It's better than chocolate. It's carob. But no, she was really neat. And I loved the tarot card reading, but
the psychic or the medium?
Yeah, where Bartok was supposed to be the psychic medium, and basically he's got all these different scientific toys to make sure that like lights come on at certain points, and we've got disembodied voices. That
was
great.
Super dope. I thought that was pretty funny because everybody was just like, what is going on?
And it was funny because I was expecting Bartok to like freak out at the idea of ghosts and spirituality and stuff like that, but he just kind of went along with it. Like, okay, that's your thing.
Yeah, whenever he seemed to need to participate in anything or get way more involved, his initial like, I don't want to, turned into, yeah, I'll do it. Sure. Why not?
Yeah, and then he does it like 110%. Like I did this, but then I made another extra invention to put a little bit of sprinkle on top for it.
Right. Unlike, Nicodemus, who would start off being totally reluctant, and then about halfway into it, then he'd get fully invested.
If the person needing help was a reader and a fan, instantly he'd agree to it. Not a problem. Yep. If they had like a comment about the books, like, this one was better, that they seem to be degrading, then he'd not want to help them at all.
Okay.
Which was always, again, fantastic, because what artist doesn't feel that?
Right.
Oh, the one episode where they were a little bit prophetic, though, with that was the Nicodemus Jr. episode.
That episode.
Yeah, with the reality star mom.
Oh, that was brutal. I think that episode was a little ahead of its time, or maybe it was very timely. I don't know. I don't remember that much of the 90s about that stuff.
Yeah, I don't remember toddlers and tiaras being a thing back then, but this was definitely that. And god damn, did that lady whore out her kid bad.
Oh my god. Even the kid at one point was like, Mom, can we just go home, please? And she's like, no. We gotta get back to work.
I gotta get that hustle.
Yeah. Oh my god. The funniest part of that one was like the Trojan cow thing. I'm like, oh god, did they watch like Ace? Pet Detective Ace Ventura.
That was so funny though. And then everyone telling Pratt, oh, they kidnapped him because they thought he was your son. Oh, well, sucks to be you. That's what happens when you're me.
Yeah.
He was so happy, not only that it was happening to somebody else, but specifically happening to those two people that fucked him over.
Right.
And I felt that and giggled so hard inside. Like, it was not the right thing to do, but it made me jovially happy to understand, like, yeah, you could suffer my day. Have fun.
Pretty much. I thought that was fun. Even, do you remember when Ernest had captured the criminal and they were standing next to each other? And then, she comes up with basically Nicodemus Jr. and he's like claiming, yeah, I brought this guy down too, and yada, yada, yada. And the criminal just looks at Legend and he's like, what the hell is he talking about? Didn't happen like that. And Legend's just like, roll with it, Lyle. I have to.
Yeah.
And they both share this look of like, okay, I guess. It's like moments like that just like really made the deal for me.
It did. Like, he would have been and could have been friends with anybody, low life or otherwise. I mean, clearly not all the low lives. Again, you've got the point with Custer. Oh, so you're killing Indians these days. But I don't know. He was great. I liked this character, and I didn't think I was going to enjoy it nearly as much as I did. And even more so, I didn't think I was going to be as sad when I got to the end as I did. Like, it wasn't a sad ending at all. I was just kind of like, I want to see more of this. I like these adventures. They're fun.
Yeah. Now, which did you like better? Did you like him as Nicodemus Legend, or did you like him as Ernest Pratt?
Oh, God. I want to say Ernest Pratt because Nicodemus Legend is a horrible goddamn dresser. Horrible.
Yeah, those duds were duds.
His clothing looks like, for people at home that haven't seen this, look up Dumb and Dumber. When they get to Colorado and they have this huge briefcase of money and they go out and buy their own clothes. And it's like the worst, gaudiest, fake cowboy clothing you could possibly find.
Pretty much.
That's kind of what he looks like. But he did get the one, what was it, in the pilot, where Vera's son comes to bully him.
Yeah.
And he starts bullying the guy back, talking about basically saying your mama dresses you. Like, your clothes look like your mom dressed you from the department store.
Pretty much.
And at the same time, like, bitch, who are you fucking talking to? Like,
yep.
Your coat looks like you're a zoot suit with like leather all about you.
Yeah.
But otherwise, no, I liked Pratt. I liked the fact that he was a coward. I love how quick thinking he was. And I absolutely adore his commitment to alcohol. Like,
too true.
When he first gets that cup of tea and is dancing around the saloon, I'm just like, God bless him.
Well, that was so much fun. Just even him trying to interact with the bartender to be like, hey, can I get this to drink? And he's like, no. Can I get this to drink? No. Hey, this is a company town for EC Fields or EC Ellen. And basically he's like, hey, if you just put it in a little tea, I could give you his tea. Well, can you just fill the teacup with the whiskey? He's like, oh, I don't know. He's like, I'm not going to tell anybody. Nobody's going to know the difference. And then a few episodes later, you got that assistant, forgot what his name was. He comes in, he picks up the tea, and he takes a sip, and he's like, Old Forester. It's like busted.
Oh shit! Was that the episode? No.
With the Germans.
Yeah, I was going back to San Francisco again. I was like, wait, no. Yeah, the Germans, and the episode in San Francisco. Those probably wound up being my favorites. Those were the ones where I go back and have the fondest memories, I think.
Yeah.
Obviously, the San Francisco one, James Hong is in it. Legendary actor.
Amazing guy.
Super cool in this. And the guy that was working for the bad guys, who comes off looking like a weird type of preacher. He was a side character on Home Improvement often. And Misty's at Home, if you've seen Laser Blast, he was the sheriff on that looked like Hank Williams Jr. Hank Williams Jr. And they kept saying, "Are you ready for some football?" That was this guy. And you're just kind of like, oh shit. And he's like super clean, almost like a priest or a preacher, like very floofy dressed.
Yeah.
Not redneck like he usually is, or trucker like he usually is.
Yeah, I did not recognize him.
I recognized his beard. And I was like, wait a second. And I looked it up because all I could think of was, "Are you ready for some football?" And yeah, it really was him. I was like, oh shit, it's the dude from Laser Blast. Far out.
Yeah.
So, anyways, and I completely forgot otherwise. But yeah, those two episodes are probably my favorites as far as when it comes to the storyline, the jokes, and even the cameos.
Yeah.
And the cameos were abundant in almost every episode. Just like
Every episode had a cameo of some sort in it.
yeah,
I didn't catch them all, but I'm pretty sure I would say every episode had a nice little cameo in it.
it was nice to see Stephen Baldwin. I do like him.
Young Stephen Baldwin.
Yes, this was just after, or just it was probably just before Biodome, wasn't it?
Oh, that's a good question.
Uh
I will look that up.
huh.
Man, Biodome. I haven't thought about that movie in a while.
Oh, speaking of which, he was the sheriff. He was also in Son-in-Law. He plays the farmhand that fucks Pauly Shore up.
Biodome was 96. So yes, this was just before.
Oh, I love those two movies.
Biodome, it's okay.
It's okay.
I'd rather watch Encino Man.
See, Encino Man's the one I never watched just because I didn't like Brendan Fraser at that point.
You're fired.
I know. Like, looking back, I've made terrible choices in life. Terrible choices.
We're going to correct all of them.
Slowly but surely.
Might take us the rest of our lives, but it's going to be My Name is Earl. I got a list this long.
And how many of them?
Then we'll get canceled before we even get to the 20th one.
Did they cancel that show, or did it end naturally?
Show got canceled. That was NBC. Because they never finished the list.
I think the only show that NBC hasn't canceled was Chuck.
They didn't cancel The Office. Depends on your viewpoint with a lot of their shows. NBC screws up a lot too. Almost all networks have their graveyard, so to speak.
Yeah, but NBC, like, they're not Fox by any means whatsoever, but they'd be like number 2 or 3 to Fox.
Yeah, because they're nothing but crap.
Yeah, all the time. If it's not anything that's good, usually gets pushed down NBC and thrown over to somebody else, syndication, or they're not great. Like Constantine is their telltale
Cautionary tale.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
This is my second show today. I can't think of words anymore.
Well, if you don't want to think about words, you want to crack open a 6-pack?
I do.
All right, Kevin, give us our 6-pack.
All right, this one was hard to choose. We had a little bit extra than we did last week, so I think I was able to match an actual 6.
Cool.
So I skipped episode 2. I went from the first and the third episode. The third episode was
Legend and His President's Secret Service.
Yes, and that was the homage to the Wild Wild West. That was the homage to the Wild Wild West. See here. Episode 4 came right after that. That was
episode 4 is Custer's next
to last stand. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And that one was because that's where you start to see Pratt's background. You start to see him start to accept wanting to help the people of Sheridan a little bit more.
Right.
And again, it was that and you saw it more than once, the background that he knows a woman from a past time or knew her back then. Kirsty was not that person. She was the friend. It wasn't an ex-girlfriend. So it was more along the lines of his actual family growing up. And I dug that part. Episode 7, which was the one with Robert Englund, of course, that showed his, I don't want to say criminal side to a point, but it was, because of course Pratt was not always a reputable person. He had how much debt to him by the second to last episode, which was number 5. Number 11 is the one where he goes home to his mom in San Francisco. And then the final episode, which closes everything out. But again, pointing out in that episode, he was not the main character, was not even the hero in that episode. That was really Ramos. And that's where you really saw what the show could have taken off to be. I don't want to say it would have been the end cap. It's like a second beginning. They could have had more direction going from there. I don't know.
No, that's a good selection. All right, for my 6-pack, I basically have the same episodes that Kevin shows. I am not kidding. I'm going to show Kevin my highlights: the pilot, the second episode, the fourth episode. And basically the same. Obviously, you got to start with the pilot. It's a great introduction. It's an hour and a half, and it flies right by. It's really enjoyable. The chemistry is there right off the bat. And you keep hearing the Edison's making toys, and Bartok is really making real progress. And then you got basically Pratt is showing his intelligence as a writer and using it towards, basically pushing the stories forward. Then we roll into Mr. Pratt goes to Sheridan, where, they finally moved to Colorado, Sheridan, Colorado. And I really like the whole robbers and Gentleman Jim Siringo being the scapegoat as a setup for an even bigger criminal. I thought that was actually pretty intelligent, a little more complex than it really needed to be, but it wasn't so complex you couldn't follow along with it. And so at this point, I'm feeling like these stories are pretty engaging. If the characters aren't grabbing you, the stories are actually pretty fun. So, they got underlying narrative strong points here. Like the writing's good, the acting is fun. It takes a while getting used to Richard Dean Anderson playing it a little too cheesy at times. But if you're a Stargate fan, you're about to get Stargate, so you can gloss over it. But if you want to see Richard hamming it up here and there, this is a fun show to watch, to see him really test out those comedic muscles that I never knew he had, because I only really ever knew him from MacGyver before this show. And then, Custer's Next to Last Stand. What I really liked about this one was they started to talk about Ernest's background. Like, he was an actual reporter before he became a dime novel writer. It wasn't just a fun, great little dialogue snippet with Custer and Ernest. It was, hey, wait a minute, he's a legit reporter. So there's more to him than just, oh, he's a dime novel writer living out his life in the West, banging chicks and getting drinks. What more is there to it? Like, he was living the life out there like a champ, even complete with gambling debts. So, so much fun with that. And then the other reference in that episode was the man with the golden eye, which felt to me like a little reference to James Bond a little bit. The Man with the Golden Gun, then of course Golden Eye, which was about probably in production or about ready to come out. And just we never really knew if the guy died. I don't think he was going to come back, though. He dropped straight out of an air balloon, like at least 50 feet to what they called a ravine. When they showed the scene from above of him dropping, there was no fucking ravine, no water. I think dude's squished like a freaking pancake.
He is the ravine.
Because this isn't our In Bruges episode where we watched a body explode on impact.
No, that was wet.
That was juicy. And then, of course, like Gospel According to Legend with Robert Englund turning up. You don't really need this one so much for story points as it's just a fun episode with a great cameo in it with Robert. And okay, so the one thing about this episode that I noticed is sometimes Bartok's accent goes in and out a little bit. He sounds a little more like John and less like Janos Bartok at times. But I think they eventually just told him, hey, just stick to your normal voice. You're fine.
His accent was so endearing. Like, it really was. Again, the Mon Capitan, like, that's, you feel that character from him. Or when he would correct people, as I'm about to correct you, Janos Christoph Bartok.
That's that third name,
He's very proud of that, Christoph.
I did that on purpose. I wasn't sure if you're going to catch it or not, though.
Because the one I don't want to say one time, but there's a couple times where it's happened where he gets like super offended by it. And I think that's where he got offended by it, was where Dean said it, because he knew better.
Right. And with my fifth episode, Clueless in San Francisco, Kevin went into a lot of great detail on that. I just loved Bartok as the psychic. I just kept cracking up the whole time. Great seeing James Hong, and really nice to have a new setting and meet, basically Ernest's mom. Although the funniest part of this episode was at the very beginning, where it doesn't feel like oh shit, he's going to electrify himself with 2 orbs and he's going to get shot. I'm like, oh shit, this is not going to go well. And it really is no bearing on the rest of the episode, like at all. It was just a fun opening to get to Patience, who was actually known as Patience. So that was kind of a clever way to actually have her name in Native American. I really liked that episode, had good closure. And then we roll right into Skeletons in the Closet. It's a great ending. Ramos basically steals the show in this one. Well deserved. Fantastic acting, writing, good through line all the way through. We had another fun cameo with our captain from Killer Clowns from Outer Space, which I am sorry, I can never remember his name, but I've seen him in like so many things. Just seeing him as the main bad guy was just like, oh man, and he didn't really get his comeuppance all that much. So I almost wonder if he would have come back later on and they were going to take care of him later.
I don't know, but to your point, and the gentleman's name is John Vernon.
Thank you.
His eyebrows. Now, I thought that was just a thing that they did in Killer Clowns, but no, like he had full on painted eyebrows in this, like on purpose. It was not a good look for him. It was not.
Yeah, I wasn't too keen on that either. It really made him look odd. But I guess, if you're trying to make something old Western-y that is intentionally looking bad, because maybe it really was that bad back then. I don't know. Did somebody have an old Western picture and they're like, hey, let's do that?
Let's put some boot polish on his face.
Put it over his eyes, not under his eyes. You ain't playing football in between shots, yo.
Oh shit. Yeah, they were pretty bad. It's like he fell asleep at a sleepover. He was the first person to fall asleep and got that makeover.
And they didn't put the shaving cream in his hand and tickle his nose with a feather that could have been the cap on top. So
now I want to watch Fantastic Four.
You are welcome. Overall, this is a really good episode to end the show with. It's got a happy, upbeat ending. Everybody's in a good place. I was really digging the show. I'm just really kind of disappointed it didn't get any more, but I very much appreciate what the show did and what it gave us. And if it wasn't for this show, we might, I don't know if we would have gotten Stargate. Basically, this rolled right into an opportunity for Stargate. Richard took on to it and he did great as Jack O'Neill. And, later this fall, we might be doing something fun with Stargate. So kind of stay tuned for that. But, it's a fun show. If you want dead serious Richard Dean Anderson, you're not getting it here. And this is a nice blend of a Western sci-fi with some comedy in it. As I described it to somebody else, it's Adventures of Briscoe County Jr., but not as wild with the science fiction because there's no time travel and alien origin things or future stuff. That is basically brought down to a Wild Wild West level. So it's a cross between those two, but with Richard Dean Anderson and John D. Lancie. If that doesn't get your whistle wet, then sorry, we're still covering the show anyway.
It is delightful. Like it really is. It's the only word I could think of to describe it. It's fun.
Yeah, it's a great relaxing show. It requires very minimal thought, and there's a lot to really grab onto. Like there's a lot of meat in these stories and the performances. Sometimes the music is a little cheap, little chintzy. They're clearly riffing or borrowing elements from other stuff, but hey.
It's an homage.
Yeah, I mean, you could look at it any number of ways. It doesn't hurt the show. It just makes you wish, like, maybe they could have opened the budget so they could have done a little more interesting things with the music, but that's okay. This was early UPN. They didn't really know how to handle shows then. They still don't now.
It's true.
And Kevin, before we wrap it up, I would normally ask you if we have any social media, but I have the social media this time. Ha-ha! We're going to start with one of our supporters, Chad Peterman. He says, wait, MacGyver, Jack O'Neill, and freaking Q were in a show together and I never knew about this? Yeah, you didn't know about this, but you do now. And Rebecca actually replied to Chad and she wrote, right? This is news to me too.
We need to drop the link to this show from the archive in the Facebook group.
Yep, we will definitely do that. You can also find it on a few digital places that is on Amazon and Apple. It's about $10 for the season. There is a DVD set out there. It's about $12 now on Amazon. It can drop down to about 10. However, stay tuned to the end of the episode. We're going to have a special little announcement with that. But I also got some information from some of our Stargate groups because I was curious if there was any other Richard Dean Anderson fans out there. And clearly, John de Lancie was also in Stargate. I got Christopher Dubs. No, I didn't even know about it. And I am now 10 minutes into the first episode. Thank you. Keep thinking he's just going to wake up. Yep. He's not waking up. This is a legend. Then we got Lorraine. I watched Legend when it was on UPN originally. I loved it. I wish it had gone on longer, but then we might not have gotten Stargate, or at least might not have had Richard Dean Anderson in Stargate. Ernest Pratt was hilarious. I loved John Delancey's character and all of his gadgets. Gadgets.
Gizmos. They're not gadgets. Oh no, and I'm gonna have that stuck in my head for the rest of the night.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
And Alan S., I wanted to be, but I think my local UPN affiliate at the time kept preempting it for other stuff, and I only managed to catch a couple of episodes. Yeah, UPN affiliates were few and far between, or they were borrowing airtime from other networks like CBS or whatnot for little blocks. So kind of depended on your area what was really happening. So that was a weird time when the WB and UPN were running their own networks. That was very strange. Like some markets had dedicated channels, others they were borrowing time on other network channels.
Oh wow.
It was weird.
Huh.
But all the major markets like Chicago, New York, they had their own network.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, Chicago still has their own CW type network, don't they?
WGN, I think that's still around.
Yeah. Or they were.
Right.
I don't know.
Might be a conversation for another time because I would want to look that up. All right. Then we also have Dan H. Loved it. Richard Dean Anderson was a hoot. Yes, he was. And Chris, oh, go ahead.
I was going to say regarding that, if you want to see what good acting is, you don't need to go see a big budget movie. You just need to watch something like this where 2 or 3 people play characters that are a complete opposite of what they are throughout their daily lives. Like Richard Dean Anderson and John Delancey are phenomenal actors in this. To be able to get through their scenes in general is something to be said for, because their lines are so goddamn funny. Their deliveries are so perfect and funny. It's again off-putting because I'm not used to seeing them that way, but it was a great example of what good acting should be.
Right, because just in general, they usually play very strong characters of any archetype. They're usually very strong. In this show, they basically take a step back from that character and they play fun, whimsical, and adventurous. And at times it's like, what am I watching? At other times it's like, this actually works. Because they have such a great chemistry together, and it was great to see them playing something a little out of the norm for both of them.
Yeah, and really, they're only strong when they're together. I mean, they could do wonderful things apart, but it's just like Legend themselves. When they're together, they are just an awesome team, and there's nothing that they can't do plot-wise, acting-wise. They're a hoot.
Yeah. And then we have Chris A. I found it on DVD, and it's actually really funny. They have good chemistry. I don't remember it on TV back then, but we only got part of UPN's schedule at first in my area. That's kind of tying into that, UPN was buying time on other networks to get that out there. So that happened to Chris, it looks like. And then Pamela T. It's cute. I was also pleasantly surprised how acceptable the costumes were. They actually used natural form silhouettes on the women, and I am a historical clothing enthusiast. Thank you, Pamela. That's actually a really interesting point.
So I'm really sorry what I said about his wardrobe, cracking wise about his really long leather jackets, the zoot suit jackets.
Oh, right.
With the tassels.
That was so gaudy. But I think that was ultimately done on purpose.
Yeah.
It kind of like in Back to the Future Part 3, with Marty, and he goes back wearing like the freaking pink outfit and Nikes, and everybody's just looking at him like, who the fuck is this guy?
Freak! Another circus clown.
Another circus clown. Oh, Nikkei, what kind of stupid Indian name is that?
Oh, shit.
Did you not remember that?
No.
The good old days. And that's what we got for social medias. Kevin, you got any final thoughts?
No. Other than, again, this is another one of those shows where I got to say thank you. I'm glad you showed this to me. It's a lot of fun. This is something I'm going to go look for on DVD because it's something that I personally would want to watch again and have on quick hand, not to look it up online.
Awesome. I had a great time watching this again for the first time in a long time. I watched it off my DVD set. Now, I am going to recommend the DVD set. We're also going to do a giveaway. I'll announce in just a brief moment here. But just fair warning, the DVD set, this is kind of a hard sell on the picture quality. It's a little rough, but it is still watchable. So just fair warning on that. And the same thing applies to its digital formats. It's still a little rough, but it's still very much enjoyable. And I would recommend checking it out. You can please go, we'll put a link in our description. So when you're listening to us, you can actually go to a place called Archive, which is a free nonprofit place online where you can view some old content like shows, old radio things. You know, there's a lot there. You can easily get lost while you're searching around, but we'll have a link below directly for Legends. So you can go check it out for free if you would like. Or if you would like to check out our contest giveaway here, the first person that sends us an email, SunsAndShadows Inc. That's INC. So that's all one word, SunsAndShadows Inc. at gmail.com. If you send us, we have a special keyword here for you. If you send us the keyword, the first person who sends that in, the keyword is Sylvester. You will get a complete DVD set copy, and you will also get a $20 Amazon gift card available for the US only. We will not ship international. If you are international, you can get a digital version of that. That's what you get in our little giveaway. Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you all next time. Make sure you check us out on all of our social media platforms. We got Facebook, Twitter. We are at Suns and Shadows. We're also on Instagram at Suns and Shadows Cast. We are at sunsandshadows.com. Thank you again, everybody, and we'll see you down the road.